Hey guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance on my other channel. On this channel, I talk about other things like today when I'll be reviewing the new Nollywood film on Prime Video, Landline. When a pregnant woman is assassinated, it's up to her soldier husband to try and save her over and over again with the help of someone on the other end of a mysterious landline because he's stuck in a time loop. Landline is a thriller produced and written by first-time feature film director Dele Doherty. Now, I'd been looking forward to this film because it's a time loop film. It's one of those films where an event happens over and over and over. And we don't see many of those types of films from Nollywood. Plus, it stars Zainab Balogun, and we don't see Zainab Balogun in a lot of movies. So for those two reasons, I was really looking forward to this film. That said, let's dive into it, beginning with the performances. Gabriel Afolayan plays Kola, this soldier who is quarantined or, he has to go into temporary hiding for a little bit after conducting like a high profile operation. At least that's what I gathered from the film. And he's also a soon to be dad. His wife, played by Zainab Balogun, is expecting. So they communicate frequently on the phone, I guess. And he does a good job. It's very emotional for the character, right? Because, as you know, he goes through this loop where constantly he's trying to save his wife over and over, and it's a bit emotionally draining on him. I wish the emotions were conveyed a bit better. It wasn't by any fault of Gabriel's. I wish in the writing they made the character to be more discombobulated and more shocked by what was going on. Time repeating itself over and over and over, and getting instructions from a landline that isn't connected to anything. It was mind blowing, but the character didn't really give that off. He didn't pass that across. But like I said, no fault of Gabriel's. Moving on to Zainab Balogun, who plays Shalewa, his expectant wife. She does a good job. Zainab plays a pregnant woman quite well in this film. The issue I had with Zainab's acting, right? And I don't know if you see, Gabriel Afolayan, who is a Yoruba man, speaks Yoruba very well in many of the films he's in. He speaks Yoruba quite a bit to Zainab in this film. And she speaks a little bit of Yoruba back. I felt like it would have been more fluid and more interesting if they were at the same proficiency level, or at least close to the same proficiency level in terms of speaking Yoruba. It would have made the couple more believable. But instead, what we see in the film is that, Zainab doesn't speak Yoruba as much as Gabriel does. Maybe that's how they wanted the characters to come off. Like, Shalewa is not that fluent in Yoruba, even though she's a Yoruba girl. Maybe she spent the majority of her life abroad. So maybe that's what they wanted to pass across, with the film. But I feel like the film would have been better if they were at par, in terms of the Yoruba too would have felt more fluid and sweeter. Aside from that, I think Zainab did a decent enough job. The character was quite clueless in terms of defending herself from this assassin that came to her house. Again, I'm not sure if, well, the emotions were conveyed, but I just feel like there are certain points in the performance or in the story where her own survival instincts should have kicked in. Like the part where she grabs a knife and she's asking her husband how to use the knife to defend herself. Seriously? Who when there's an intruder in your house, has a knife in their hand, is now asking somebody else how to use the knife to defend themselves? It seemed quite off to me. Finally, Bucci Franklin is in the film as the assassin who comes to take out Shalewa, right? And he doesn't have many lines in the film. And as far as we know, maybe when he was masked, that may not have even been Bucci Franklin. My point is, we don't really see him or feel Bucci Franklin, the actor, in the movie, because for the majority of the movie, that character is masked. And he doesn't even have many lines in the film. So there isn't really much to say about it. And I don't know, it's a trained assassin against a married woman all alone in a house. Sorry, a pregnant woman all alone in a house. It's hard to see how a trained assassin would have lost that battle. Maybe it was his first day on the job. Who knows? What I liked the tension in the film at a certain point. I think like in the middle of the film, I was really engrossed. So that was good. I also liked seeing Zainab Balogun do something different. I've never seen her play a pregnant woman before, and I've never seen her in a thriller before. So that was a bit refreshing. Finally, I liked the set design of the house that Zainab's character was in. Aside from the pictures on the wall that were meant to be of Zainab's character and Gabriel's character, those pictures didn't really look like two of them. But apart from that, the set design was good. What I didn't like, there were a number of things in this film that either were poorly explained or not even explained at all. For example, why exactly did they put a hit on Kola's wife? Maybe, yes, they were trying to get to Kola, well, obviously, right? But how was that going to pan out? Did they want to fish him out that, once they pop the wife, he'll come out of hiding and they'll be able to get him? They didn't really explain that. Also, why didn't she try and escape through the back door of the house? Most houses, not only Nigeria, all over the world, have a back door. At no point did she attempt to escape through the back door. Also, the security man, did they not have a security man for their compound or their home? Because it's quite unusual for a pregnant woman to be all alone at home without even a security man, at least. Because typically when somebody is that far along with their pregnancy, there's a maid or there's a relative, there's somebody with the person. But if all those people are not even there, at least there should be a security man for the compound. And even if they didn't have like an individual security man for their house, why didn't Gabriel Afolayan's character, the husband, Kola, why didn't he try and call the estate security to come and save his wife? So they didn't even try and address that at all. Now let's come to the assassin. You're coming to the house, maybe you've done your research, you know that she's the only one at home. So why are you wearing a mask? And the mask wasn't just a generic mask. It seemed symbolic. Was that white mask with tribal marks? Why was it a symbolic mask? Why not just a generic mask if you even had to wear a mask at all? Another thing, when he comes to the house dressed as a police officer, why doesn't he just take her out there and then? Why does he go back out, change his clothes, and then put on a mask to come and make a hit on somebody who he now knows is the only person at home? They didn't bother explaining any of these things. I also was not a fan of the pacing of this film. It was incredibly slow at the beginning, very slow. It gets a bit exciting in the middle, but then it kind of goes all over the place. There's lots of exposition and, dialogue or like a speech from Gabriel Afolayan's character where he's explaining why he was hiding and all that. It felt like that portion of the film would have been better maybe with flashback scenes rather than him just talking us through why he was in hiding and his role in whatever, because even with all the talking, it still didn't make sense to me. I also didn't like how in one scene, I think it was even towards the end when she finally is able to subdue the assassin, she's crying. She's crying anyway, and her makeup is running. The makeup was for the actress, not for the character, because the character like that is at home, she's pregnant, she doesn't have any reason to have makeup at home. So she had makeup on because Zainab Balogun is, under cameras and she's acting. So typically they put makeup on her, right? They should have at least given her waterproof makeup so that when she's crying, the makeup doesn't run. What else didn't I like about this film? I can't remember any other thing, but the last thing that I was going to mention that I didn't like about the film was the ending. The film kind of fell flat towards the end, right? Because he saves the day, he saves his wife by guiding her on how to subdue the assassin. So she lives, right? But the main thing that we as viewers are really concerned about was how this time loop thing is happening and how that landline is working without being connected to anything. And who, for goodness sake, is the person on the other side of that landline. They do not explain that. We do not get closure on that. The film just ends just like that. We knew he was going to save the day and save his... what kind of film would it have been if he did not... If we were put through seeing Shalewa die so many times and at the end of the day, he doesn't save her. So we kind of knew that he was going to save his wife at the end of the day. But, so that was like a given. That was secondary. The primary thing us as viewers were concerned about was why he was in a time loop and who it was on the other side of that phone. Most films that do the whole time loop thing, at least they make an effort to explain that. This film did not even bother trying to do that. Sorry. I just remembered one more thing that I have to mention that I didn't like about this film. Bucci Franklin's character has a beard. Policemen do not keep beards. max they'll have a mustache. I don't even know if they're allowed to keep goatees. When he impersonates the police officer and comes to the house, he has a beard. Zainab's character, Shalewa, is the wife of an army officer. Even army officers are not allowed to keep beards. So she should have known, once she saw the policeman at the door, that this guy was not a real policeman because he has a beard. There was even no reason for the character to have had a beard. And even if the character had had a beard, Shalewa should have rang a bell in her head that this is a police officer, he has a beard, something is up. Okay, and the cup of tea that she brings for him. He comes in, she welcomes him, she says, "Would you like a cup of tea?" He says yes. She goes in. He barely sits down for like a few seconds and she comes back with a cup of tea. That was the fastest cup of tea in the history of Nollywood. In conclusion, I think Landline suffered from poor development. It was a good concept, quite all right, but there are so many things that made it feel like food that wasn't fully cooked yet. You know, they did the time loop thing, but how about why the loop was happening? Who the other characters, the secondary characters were? You know, the story behind why Kola was in hiding and the characters, his employers, the army, all that interesting stuff that would have made it a richer film as opposed to just seeing his wife being assassinated over and over again. Anyway, time to rate the film. I rate this film, Landline, with 1.5 jolloфs over 5. Guys, if you enjoyed this review, I really hope that you did. Do me a favor and like it by clicking on the like button just underneath the video, and subscribe to my channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. On this channel, I don't just do Nollywood movie reviews. Sometimes I talk about other things. To check out some of my past reviews, you can click the card in the corner of the screen. If you've seen Landline, I think Landline came out across the world. I can't remember anyone complaining that Landline was not available in their country, like I saw with a Lagos Love Story. Anyway, if you've seen Landline, let me know what you thought about the film in the comment section down below. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought about the movie. Thanks so much for watching once again, guys. I will catch you in the next one. Take care. Like and subscribe.